So we will be continuing on in our prospect pool overviews today with the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks prospect pool is a pretty exciting one. Even though Bedard's not in it, Kevin Korchinski's not in it, it's still a very exciting pool with a lot of positive notes for the future. Now, again, when we did this last year, we obviously covered Connor Bedard, Kevin Korchinski, etc. Those guys are no longer prospects. They have played their first rookie seasons in the NHL. And obviously that means that they will graduate. And that means we got new guys to talk about here. But we do have some guys from previous seasons that are worth bringing up. Starting off with Frank Nazar. Now, when we talked about Nazar last year, he went through a massive injury that cut out the majority of his season in Michigan last year. But this past year, he was able to get a lot more playing time and even got some time in the NHL too. So Nazar is a center/right wing from Detroit, USA. He's 5'9", 174 pounds. He won a U20 World Junior Gold in 2023-24, and he was drafted 13th overall in 2022. So obviously, when Nazar was drafted, Chicago didn't have their pick. If I am correct, they got that selection from the Montreal Canadiens, I'm correct, or it was the Senators. I believe it was the Canadiens, though. So overall, a good trade there, good moves by Kyle Davidson. He went to take Nazar, and Nazar this past year had a really good year with the University of Michigan, but he also played in the NHL as well. He played 3 games, played with the Blackhawks, had 1 goal, so obviously he did get some NHL time, and that makes me think that by the time we do this next year, he will no longer be on this list. But regardless, this past year in Michigan, he had 41 games played, 17 goals, 24 assists, 41 points. He had a pretty good bounce-back season from a season that was wiped out from injuries. And usually when you get a season wiped out from injuries, you see the player come back, but not in the way they used to be. Nazar came back better. So that's good numbers there from Frank Nazar. I'm very excited to see him play in the NHL next year, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Next up then, we have Oliver Moore. Oliver Moore is a center from Mounds View, USA. He is 5'11", 194 pounds. He won the U20 World Junior Gold in 23-24 and was drafted 19th overall in 2023. I remember in that 2023 draft, I was pretty high on Oliver Moore. I thought Oliver Moore was going to be, I don't know, a top 10 pick, but definitely in the early teens range from like 11 to 15. But he dropped to 19, where Chicago just gladly swooped him up. I don't think they're complaining either. He has become a very solid prospect and could honestly be arguably the best in this pool besides Artem Levanov. He played 39 games played this past year at the University of Minnesota. He had 9 goals, 24 assists, 33 points. He definitely has compete, and he has really good energy when he's on the ice. I'm not sure if he's coming over to the NHL yet. I think he's playing another year in Minnesota. I might be wrong. Blackhawks fans might need to correct me in the comment section, but I do think that Moore is another one to look at as an exciting prospect and one that's not really talked about that much, to be honest with you. Next up then, we have Saka Boisvert. So we get into the newer prospects of this pool. And Boisvert is an exciting guy who was drafted later on in the first round, but he's a raw prospect. He's going to take a little bit to get to the NHL, which I don't think the Blackhawks are too worried about because they're not in the state of contending right now. But regardless, Boisvert, he's a center from Trois-Rivières, Canada. He's 6'2", 183 pounds. He was drafted 18th overall this past year in 2024. He played 61 games, played with Muskegon. He had 36 goals, 32 assists, 68 points. So obviously Muskegon is the United States Hockey League. Those are good numbers for the USHL. And I read some articles where it said that he's a really good worker, competes good, and he's also going to the University of North Dakota. So again, he is a ways away before he converts to the NHL. But when he gets there, he could be a very exciting, young, and hardworking forward. And I think he could honestly be a fan favorite for Chicago, and I'm not against that whatsoever. I think he will be a lot of fun with the Blackhawks. Moving into your defensive prospects, you have Artem Levanov here to start off, the 2nd overall pick in this past year's draft. He's a defenseman from Zlobin, Belarus. He's 6'2", 209 pounds. He won the NCAA B1G championship in 23-24, and as I said, he was drafted 2nd overall in this past year's draft. He had Connor Bedard make the pick. I was like, wow, big surprise there. He played 38 games this past year with Michigan State. He had 9 goals, 26 assists, 35 points. I shouldn't really need to say much about Levanov. I talked about him in so many prospect videos previous to this. He has a great 200-foot game. He carried Michigan State. He is a terrific defenseman. He will be your number one guy. I think him and Korchinski can make a very exciting first pairing. And there's a legitimate chance that he makes the team next year. So that's another exciting thing to look at, which does mean that there could be a few guys on this list that we're talking about right now that may not be on it next year, which makes things a lot exciting for the Blackhawks for sure. Next up then, we got a guy we talked about in previous years. We have Ethan Del Mastro. Mastro is a defenseman from Freelton, Canada, 6'4", 205 pounds. He's actually a 2-time U20 World Junior Gold winner, so that's cool. Not a lot of guys really get that title, to be honest. He was drafted 105th overall in 2021. He's taken a little bit longer to get the establishment in the AHL, but he did come up and play 2 games with the Blackhawks this past year, and he spent most of the season down below in Rockford. He played 69 games, had 7 goals, 30 assists, 37 points. From the articles I've seen from the reports, he really established himself in his rookie year with the Ice Hogs. I think that's their name. But again, another exciting defensive prospect. He might not have the upside of Levanov or Korchinski, obviously, but he will be someone who probably does make the NHL as a full-time defenseman, which does make things pretty exciting. And lastly, your goaltending prospect here for the Blackhawks is the guy we talked about last year. It's Drew Keso. He is a goalie from Norwell, USA. He's 6'2", 181 pounds, drafted 46th overall in 2020. And he played 38 games this past year with Rockford. He had an 18, 16, and 4, a 2.65, and a .906. That's pretty solid numbers for a guy being in his first American Hockey League season. And again, you see with goalies, and I've said this in so many different videos talking about prospects, goalies are a little bit hard to tell. They're a little bit hard to tell whether they're going to develop or whether they're going to flop. It looks like right now, though, Keso is on the path to becoming a legitimate goalie within the next 2 or 3, maybe 4 seasons. He's still a ways away, but is an exciting goalie rising up the Blackhawks depth charts. Other prospects that are in the pool, though, you do have Marek Vaneker, another pick from this past year's draft. You do have another goalie, Adam Gajin. I don't know him too well. You have Wyatt Kaiser and Sam Rinzel, also a part of this Blackhawks prospect pool they are building. But overall, this is a very exciting pool. This is a very exciting team they're building up. They are still a few years away before they get to the Stanley Cup playoffs and obviously start contending again. But with the guys they brought in this past year, with what they've done, it makes things very exciting. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate it. I will be doing more of these as the season heads closer. Again, the season previews start up very soon, so I guess you will see Chicago's within the next couple of days. But regardless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.